So welcome everybody to this latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be continuing with a series of going through some GCSE Maths higher big mark questions taken from some past papers. Now as always there'll be a copy of the questions along with the mark scheme for you to have an attempt at the questions before watching through this video as we go through the answers by simply clicking on the link in the description. Now before we get started working through these big mark questions, it's always important that when you get these big mark questions that you try and establish what topic it relates to or which topics it relates to, because sometimes they do amalgamate a lot of the mathematical topics together with these big mark questions. Now looking at these questions, they are quite exclusive to one particular topic, so hopefully they should be relatively straightforward and not involve too much complex thinking. So looking at question 1, so again, if you've not had opportunity to print off any of these questions, then all you need to do is simply pause the video as I read through the question, have an attempt at it, and then unpause as we go through the answer. So this question says that A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H is a cuboid, and the question is asking us to work out the angle between E, H. Now, EC and A, B, C, D. Now, with these particular 3D problems, it's always important that you try and establish what it is you've got to work out first. So we're wanting to work out what this angle here is. Let me just colour it in, which I don't think helps, but there you go. So let's just call that X. Now in order to work that out, I need to know what two sides of this green triangle is going to be. And at the moment I only know one side, which is the 7 centimeters. So what I then need to do is then find what AC is by looking at another right angle triangle, which is this orange one here. So if I take that orange triangle out, that's a pretty poor diagram representation of a triangle, so let's just call that ABC. This is 14 and this is going to be 8. So if I to work out this length here, well, AC squared is going to equal 8 squared plus 14 squared. So AC is going to equal, or AC squared is going to equal 260. So AC equals the square root of 260. Then if I look at that green triangle, and I can draw that triangle out. Now sometimes you might find it a lot easier to redraw the triangles and label accordingly. So this angle here is X, this side here is 7, and A to C, as I've just worked out, is 260. So from this, I've just got to label the information I know. So this is theta, that's opposite, that's the adjacent. So I'm going to be using tan x equals 7 over the square root of 260. So x equals the inverse tan of 7 over root 260. And if I type that into my calculator, it should give me an answer of 23.5 degrees. And that's been rounded to 1 decimal place. Moving on to question 2, it says that at a fish and chip shop, 3 fish, 1 portion of chips cost £10.05. 3 fish and 4 portions of chips cost £19.20. Work out the cost of 4 fish and 3 portions of chips. So for this, well, those prices, start off with those prices are ridiculously cheap at this current age, but let's have a look. So what you want to do first is you want to translate each of these statements using algebra. So looking at the first one, if I just label this, so I've got number 1 as being 2f plus c equals 10.05, and for number 2 I've got 3f plus 4c equals £19.20. Now this is slowly starting to look like a simultaneous equation, so we need to either have the same number of f's or the same number of c's. So here making the c's the same is probably going to be the most easiest. So if I multiply that first equation by 4, that will then turn that to a 4c. So what I end up with is 8f plus 4c equals £40.20, and 3f plus 4c equals £19.20. Now I always like to have the big equation at the top just to make my next stage that little bit easier. Now here I've got the same number of c's and the signs are both the same, so I need to take away the two equations. So here 8f take away 3f is 5f, 4c take away 4c is nothing, and £40.20 take away £19.20 is £21. So from this I will work out that f is going to equal 21 divided by 5, which is 4.2. So it's £4.20. So then using one of the equations, so using, let's say number 1, we've got 2f plus c equals 10.05. So we know that 2f is going to be £8.40, so 8.40 plus c equals 10.05. So c is therefore going to equal £1.65. Now I've not finished the question because the question is asking me to work out the cost of 4 fish and 3 portions of chips. So therefore 4f plus 3c is going to equal 4 lots of £4.20 plus 3 lots of £1.65, and if I type that into my calculator I should end up with an answer of £21.75. Moving on to question 3, so this is looking at indices. Now let me just write out these again just in case they're not that clear on the screen. So it says 2m equals 32 and 9p, I don't know why I wrote 3, let's get rid of that. And we've got 9p equals 3m. So looking at this, so if we just take this one first, that 2 to the power what gives you 32? Well, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, 16, 32. So 2 to the power of 5 equals 32. So therefore m equals 5. Then if we substitute 5 into this next expression, we get 9p equals 3 to the power of 5. Then what you want to do here is you want to try and get the bases the same. So I change 9 and write it as a power of 3. So that's going to be 3 squared p equals 3 to the power of 5. What do we do to the powers when we've got brackets? Well, we multiply, so that's going to be 3 2p, or 3 to the power of 2p equals 3 to the power of 5. So because the base numbers are the same, it means that the powers must be the same. So from this, we get 2p equals 5. So therefore, p equals 5 over 2 or 2.5, whichever you prefer. So you can either write it as 5 over 2 or 2.5, and m equals 5. Moving on to question 4, it says the diagram shows a road from A to D. The distance from A to D is 35 miles. Each week, Amy drives from A to D and back to A 3 times. Bilal drives from B to D and back to B 5 times. Work out the distance of B to D, knowing that Bilal drives 60 miles more than Amy. Well, for this particular question, what we're going to do is we're going to take this opening bit of information that A to D is 35 miles and that Amy goes from A to D 3 times. So in total, she's going to go 6 times from A to D. 6 times, because it's going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So then from this, what we've then got is Amy's total distance is going to be 6 times 35, which gives me an answer of 210 miles. Now it says that Bilal goes from B to D 5 times, so it's going to be a total of 10 times in total, and it's 60 miles more than Amy. So Bilal is going to be 10 lots of BD, and we need to add 60 to that for it to be the same. Now for this, in order for those two things to balance, then what we need is basically this is going to equal 270. So I need to add 60 miles to Amy's distance. So if I write Amy and I write Bilal, so for them both to equal the same, then I need to do Amy's distance, which is 210. I add 60, and that is the same as Bilal's journey 5 times. So then that's going to be 270 is going to equal to 10 BD. So BD is going to equal 270 divided by 10. So the distance of B to D is 27 miles. Then moving on to our last question, it says here are 6 rods. The longest rods are the same length, and it says the 6 rods can be fitted together to make a quadrilateral with equal sides. Use algebra to show clearly how this can be done. So looking at this first bit of information, we know that the two longest sides are equal length, so this must equal this. So we've got 2 lots of 2x plus 1 equals 2x plus 7. So 4x plus 2 equals 2x plus 7. So 2x equals 5. So x equals 2.5. Then from this, what we can then do is then work out what each of the lengths are. So this length here, substituting x equals 2.5, that's going to be 12. That's going to be 12. That's going to be 8. This is going to be 6.5. This is going to be 5.5. And this smallest one is going to be 4 centimeters. Now, if I add up all of those total amounts, I get 48 centimeters. Now, if each of those make a quadrilateral and they're equal sides, then each side is going to be 48 divided by 4, which is 12. So I need to try and make, using these pink numbers, I need to make 4 lots of 12. Well, here's one, here's another. And so the next one is going to be 8 and 4. And then my final one is going to be 6.5 and 5.5. Now the question says, use algebra to show how this can clearly be done. Well, let's have a look at working these out. So what we want to try and prove is that the two orange circled lengths are the same as the blue lengths, and see if we get the same value of x. So here what we've then got, let me just split this up. So here we've got x plus 4 plus 3x minus 2 equals, and we've got the orange lengths, so that's going to be 2x plus 3 plus 2x minus 1. So then from this, if we then simplify, we end up with 4x plus 2 equals 4x plus 2. And so there we can see that they're both equal to each other. And if we then just simply work out any of those, so they're all going to equal 4x plus 2. And so when x equals 2.5, we've got 5 plus 2, 10 plus 2. 10 plus 2, and then we're going to got 10 plus 2, so it equals 12. And there we go, we've done that algebraically.